Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream. I really miss doing those. Haven't done a live stream in a while. Welcome everybody who is joining live, and also welcome to everybody who is watching a recording. My name is Nadia. I'm a UK Global Talent Visa recipient and coach, which means that I got endorsed for this visa myself as a software engineer. And then I started helping people get endorsed for the visa as well. So I do help various professionals, not just software engineers, but also business applicants. So if you ever need help with your visa application, visa endorsement application, then feel free to get in touch. Today's conversation is actually a very exciting one for me because I do like a challenge, and I do like working with people with unconventional cases and especially business applicants, because I think in general there is less information available for them and about them. So I'm very excited to bring my guest today. Welcome. Just 1 second. I forgot how to do this. Okay, welcome, Liraz. Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Yeah, really glad to see you join today. First of all,
Same.
congrats on your recent endorsement.
Thank you.
Yeah, so maybe we can start with a little intro. Maybe you can tell us a bit about yourself. What is your professional background? And
Sure.
also, how and when did you decide to move to the UK? Like, how did you learn about this visa in general?
So I've been doing SEO for, I think, this will be my 15 year doing SEO, international SEO. I heard about this visa, I think last year in February, something like that, or January, something like that. We decided to move to the UK in the summer, and we did. Basically, I just heard about this visa. I wanted to do this earlier, but as you've just mentioned, there's not even enough information about the business route. So basically, I consulted a lawyer. The lawyer told me that, because it's SEO, I'm not a CMO or anything like that. I'm not a C-level, so I won't be able to get this talent visa. And we basically moved under the skilled worker of my husband. And yeah, that's it. So I applied it again when we got here to the UK. Yeah. So this is what I did.
So maybe you could tell us a bit more about the process of how you were gathering information for the visa, and kind of how did you decide that you wanted to work, to get some external help? Because I think this is also something that a lot of people wonder, like, do I need help? Like how, like in general, I think the process is still mysterious to people. Like, how do I start?
Exactly. So when I arrived here in the UK, I heard a lot of engineers, were I would say, more technical people that reached to this visa, and it was straightforward. A lot of information, all the forums was there for tech, for engineering, I would say. But and then I met a business, I would say, applicant that got this visa, and I was like, okay, that's a route I didn't understand that. So I read the guide for the technician, and I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. I really started, writing things. And I was like, okay, I think that I need help, because it wasn't really, sometimes the criteria, you have like the different criteria that you need to apply. And I was like, didn't really understood like what type of documents, how many documents, what will be the best recommendation letters that I can just write, that I can just get, I would say. And these were the things that I was a little bit unsure of. And I think one of the engineers applicants that got the visa told me, "Oh, you should watch Nadia's channel. You should just watch the channel. She has tons of videos." And this is what I did. Like, I spent the entire evening watching your videos. And then I discovered that one of the videos, I will never forget that, because I sat here in the evening and I watched one of the videos that with a content marketer. She was a content marketer. And basically I was like, oh, okay, so maybe I'll just get a call with Nadia and see how it gets. And this is what I did. I just reached out to you. So that was really nice. Do you hear me, Nadia?
Yeah, I hear you. Just my camera for some reason stopped working.
Perfect.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, amazing. Yeah, and indeed, I do try to wonder where my video went. I never had this happen.
No problem. A connectivity issue. That's it. You're back. You're back.
It's a different camera though. Okay. Doesn't matter. Let me get this one. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, anyways, I do try to interview people from the business backgrounds, because I do know that an interview like this, as you said, can potentially change the course of someone's life. It sounds grand, but it happens actually. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I do hope that this interview as well will help somebody. And in general, if you're watching this live or watching this in the future, and if you find this helpful, do let us know in the comments, because I think it's really important for me and for my guests to see that this information is helpful. And if you have questions, you can ask them as well. If this is like general questions, I try to answer all of them in the comments. If it's more specific to your case, then I usually try to answer them within the consultation, because it's very hard to give a holistic answer without talking to somebody first. And also it's very easy to give some incorrect information, so it can be quite dangerous to consult and comment. So just putting it out there. Yeah, so you did decide to you watched my YouTube videos, and as always, thanks to everybody who recommends the channel, who spreads the word. So you decided to apply. So then we had a discovery call with you. Maybe you could also share just super briefly what this was like.
So basically, the discovery call for me was more of a way to get more confident that I can go to this route, because I was told in the past that I cannot go because I'm not a CMO or any C-level. I was in my top of a career, I was like an executive or a director, but not a C-level. And that's something that I was like, well, I didn't understand if that's something that I want to focus on, or is it something that worth my time or won't get in or anything like that. So in the discovery call, the main goal for me was just to get the confidence that I need to understand, okay, I'm getting this, I'm doing that. And that's it. In the discovery call, we chatted about my career, my achievements, the conferences, the contribution to the community, the university that I'm lecturing. We basically connected all the dots and we made it happen. After the discovery call, basically, we went to a point where we wanted to get more understanding of the strategy, what documents and things like that. And we went on from there.
Exactly. And then we went straight to the review package, I think, with you, because you were really willing to apply as soon as possible. I think a lot of people still go through the strategy first. But I think, if you have to choose, like my personal advice would be to get the review. If you have to choose between like the two, because then you would get, a review of the documents. So in your case, maybe you could share about the criteria. As you mentioned, you were quite confused about the criteria initially. For people who are new to the concept of the visa, basically, if you go to TechNation Visa Guide, and it's the single source of truth for everything related to the visa, and you should always double check that guide, because anything that we say here, that anything that's on my channel, some things change, so they might be outdated. So you should always double check that you're following the most up-to-date guidance. But there you would see that you have to meet the mandatory criteria, which is the leadership criteria, and then 4 optional, and you have to choose 2. And this is where a lot of people really struggle. How do you choose which ones? Like some are easy, like the academic criteria, most people just don't use it. And then there are 3, and how do you choose which one works best for you? I think they're not that well explained in the guide, unfortunately. So what was your process, and like which criteria did you end up choosing, and what was your general approach to this?
So I think using your help, because I couldn't do it myself, to be honest. We got the criteria of the leadership, of to show I can basically deliver an impact to the business, deliver revenue to businesses in my career, through my career, working as in-house employee. That was something that I used. And also the contribution for the community. Well, of course, this is where I think that after 15 years of career of an SEO, I'm quite of a leader in the industry. So that helps me to reach more people in terms of, give them more resources or case studies, or to share on stage, even in conferences, success, or even failures or things like that we can just share to the industry, or newbies for SEO, or in marketing in general. So we took that, and also I was a lecturer in the university in Israel, so that helps me a lot, just to show, well, you're not doing that for the money when you're lecturing in the university, so it's just like a way of showing how good things that you can do for the industry, and also for the future, I would say, tech people that wants to join. So that was something that we used. But it was just in the discovery call when we understood that what type of criteria do we want to take, or where to, I would say, put the most focus on. And that was something that really, really helped me just to organize things in my head, and not just to go, and start getting all the information in my head in the wrong way, I would say. And just like the story was very, very focused and very, very clear to me. And then when I wanted to write all the documents, well, the case studies and, the things that I've done with the companies that I work with. So basically, it was very, very clear to me what I need to do, the next steps.
Yeah. I do emphasize with this a lot. When I was preparing my own visa application, I applied on my own. And it took me, I think, a few months to even understand the criteria like clearly and understand where my experience fits. I think they're quite vaguely described. So I shared the link here on YouTube to a tutorial that I have on my channel where I go through the criteria and I explain them. I think it can be a starting point, but still when people come to me, they still ask me like, where does this particular thing fit? And I think it's very hard to answer without really discussing the experience. But in general, if we can share something here that would be valuable for anybody who wants to apply on their own without anybody's help. And in general, one of the goals of this channel is to share information freely so that people who want to apply on their own can. So in general, if you, as you said, if you have done things for the community, if you have done volunteer work, if you have done teaching, if you have done mentoring, or just sharing knowledge with the community for free, then I think the second criteria can possibly be a good option for you. So you can, if you want to remember those criteria, the second one is about free stuff that you do for the community to share knowledge, but it has to be within the confines of digital tech, right? So it can't be just something random. And then the third criteria is usually about the contribution that you have done to the growth of product-led companies, and the word product is very important here. So the company, where you contributed has to innovation, where it's you have done innovative work in an innovative field in an innovative company, which is a bit more complicated, but still, if you check out my channel and the latest live streams, I have interviewed a couple of my own clients where we have actually managed to meet the first criteria as well. So it's totally doable. You don't have to have a patent or like a real invention to get it, but it's a complicated one. So but it's I like a challenge. So if you need help with the first criteria, do get in touch. So anything you want to add to the criteria part, or that covers it?
Yeah, no, it's fine. All good.
Yeah. So once the criteria were chosen, I think the next part, as you said, was more straightforward because you already had the direction, you had the basically the strategy, like some sort of roadmap. I think this is where a lot of people waste a lot of time trying to figure this out on their own, and then once you have it, it's kind of going from there and working on the document. I think it becomes a little bit easier, but it's still never easy. So yeah, maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the experts and the letters of recommendation. This is like top question that everybody asks me, like who should be this expert, like who should support your application. Obviously we're not looking for any specific names, but just ideas of people who somebody can ask, maybe in your position, somebody who's digital marketer, like what kind of specialists they can approach.
So ideally, I ask letters from people that work with me and know my work really well, I would say, and that can really, from their heart vouch me. That's something that I was doing. So of course, with my I think my in-house position, there were a lot of people from the company. I would say my CMO that was above me and everything like that, they left the company already. So the only person that I had in this huge company that I worked for was to reach to the CEO of the company and founder. It was like a mission of itself, right? You cannot really imagine how, I was like terrified, just like, okay, can you help me? But he really knew me. And, at the end of the day, we really worked well together. And even though it was a really good company, great, I would say big company, we really worked together in the same office. So, and that's something that I would say I felt comfortable asking. And then I took a leader in the industry that basically, that can, I would say, all the people can easily get a global talent by themselves, right? Because they meet all the criteria. So the main goal is just to get them, okay, this is an industry leader. She's like on stage, she speaks at conferences. Everyone knows her in the industry. And the third person was a person that knew me. He also like a very, I would say, an executive in a product-led company, but also really knows me from my community work, like from conferences, from the community that I run for, SEO professionals and Facebook, everything that basically, even the university contribution, I basically got him to work with us as a guest and things like that. So I really took people that really, really knows me, that feel comfortable writing the letters for me, and just to talk the truth about me. And I think this was the wait. I was like, really, when you're waiting for someone just to write something for you, and just to wait to get them the letter back to you, I was like, whoa, I just want to get it back. I was like literally growing like white hair. But it went really, really nice. Like in the end of the day, like from the start process to the end, it was 3 weeks. Okay. So it's not a long time since, when I just started, with the application, I would say in mind with you. And then 3 weeks later, that's it. I just applied. So all the documents, all the letters, everything was back to me, and I can just apply. So imagine you can do that fast if you want, So.
Yeah, I was just about to ask about that, like what the process looked like and how long it took, and you just answered. Yeah, it was very quick. It doesn't feel quick when you're working on the documents, right?
No.
but if you look back on it, it's just 3 weeks from kind of
Just
initial consultation,
exactly.
And then you apply. And a lot of this time was actually, kind of, working with experts and getting those letters. I think this is where people really need to budget in for time. And as you said, I work with a lot of people, and I think everybody worries about the letters and how to ask somebody to help me. Is really on point. Like you have to get somebody who really knows your work. It's actually like a formal requirement now. They have to know your work for at least 12 months. But they really have to, like, you have to have a good relationship with them, and they have to understand what they're writing about, and kind of they have to know what you did, basically. That's I think a good summary. And then I would say that everybody worries a lot, like whether this person will support them or not, and those people are very busy. And I do remember this was quite stressful in your case as well. I think what I always tell people is of course, like you should, do your best, and then just trust the process and just be patient. But also I always tell people to prepare and kind of think about some backup plan. Like, what if this person is too busy and they will never, respond? Can you find somebody who might be like a backup plan for you, another expert, which also helps, because in my practice, unfortunately, I've seen cases where experts would drop out at the last moment. Somebody would say, like, I'm not comfortable writing this, or like, I don't want to do this. Somebody just kind of starts ghosting you or something else. So those things happen very rarely, right? So, but they do happen. Mostly everything goes well, and I think it's stressful, but also I think if you explain the goal of this and the purpose, I think people are happy to help.
Also, I want to say that a tip that you gave me was really, really important, because a reference letter can be with the same, I would say, just CEOs that work with you. It's like, in this case, we try to cover the references letters, from different aspects. So from the community, as thought leadership, from a digital product-led company. So we try to combine all these different strategies to showcase and highlight different things that I've done in the application to support the application better, I would say. So this is where the strategy was really working well, because in my mind, I have so many, companies that I work with, in my career, so I can just, do everything with the CEOs or CMOs of the company and just, get done with this. But I think the main strategy was here to support the application. To get the application out there. So I think that's really, really good advice.
Yeah, I think in your case, the application itself was really well balanced. You did have a lot of accomplishments, and they were, I think, well presented and supported the correct criteria. Because also sometimes people, they have the accomplishments, but they don't know how to present them, where to put them, and they get rejected because they had the stuff, but they didn't know how to put it together, which I think is also kind of, disappointing for them. And for you, as you mentioned, it's really good that you had experts mention your out of work engagements. And this is something that just a general tip that I always share with all my clients. I'm not sure if I shared this on the channel, but it's really good if your main letters are very diverse. So if you have like one letter from a company where you work, then another letter from a different company, and then like a third letter from somebody from the industry as you had. So just an expert who knows you from various engagements, from public speeches, from maybe some pet projects that you've done, or community work, or volunteering, or whatever. For engineers, it can be like maybe another open source maintainer or somebody like this. And this works really well. I always try to do this with my clients if we can. I don't mean that you have to have somebody from the industry praise you. Like I've had a lot of clients get endorsed only with letters from their jobs. But I always try to make it as varied as possible, because one of the reasons why technician rejects people is they say, look, all of your letters come from your current job, which is, I think, looks really weak. You're kind of claiming that you're this global talent, and then all of your letters are just from your current job, which is odd because, yeah, you have to have some sort of connections. You have to have a circle, a network of people who support you. And I think you had that. So I think your letters and the experts who support you were really, really strong. So we discussed letters. We discussed the criteria. So for I think the third criteria, I think, is usually the most straightforward one. So I don't think we have to dive deep into that. It's basically showing the impact at companies, right? So people do this through various forms, and I do have videos on that criteria. I think the second criteria is a bit more interesting because it has volunteering work, and maybe you can just kind of recap. I know you mentioned some of those things, like recap the things that you used for your second criteria. What kind of things people can use?
So, wow, I've done a lot of things, apparently. I was in a customer advisory board of, I would say, for product-led companies. And, we were doing it fully voluntarily, advising them about the product, advising them about features inside the products, about user engagement and things like that, in a very small groups of, I would say, experts that's working with these companies. Second was the university lecturing work. I was basically teaching product marketing in a university, one of the leading industry, a university in Israel, for, I would think, 2 or 3 years. And it was really, I would say, part of my routine in the last 2 years or 3 years. And then I also had the community that I'm running on Facebook. I have a community for SEO professionals in Israel, which basically is 4K members until now. So we've included this. Of course, the conferences. I'm an international SEO speaker, so I speak at conferences of all sizes, webinars, meetups, global conferences and things like that. So this was an easy thing for me to show because I'm participating in as a keynote speaker and also as just a guest speaker on some SEO conferences around the world. And of course, publishers that I've written them, like I would say an expert opinion or expert articles, or got mentioned in some digital magazines or publishers and things like that for expert roundups. So that was also something that we've included. I think that's it, if I remember. That was I think that only that time I really understood like how many things have I done during my career. It was like, and I need just to select just a few of them. It was really, really nice to show all of this work. And I was super proud of this part of, by the way, because it really, like in the end of the day, you are contributing to the community from your own experience and your own knowledge, your own, everything basically that you're doing on your day to day. And that's the best time, just like within these documents, I just hey, look at that. We've done so many things. So why not sharing this? We covered a lot in these documents. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, I think you do have an impressive profile. And immediately when you wrote to me initially, just by Googling you, and I left a link to your website underneath this video so people can check it out. I immediately saw that you have a very, very strong public profile. So to me, whenever somebody has a public profile like this, it's definitely a very strong signal. And I think my approach to coaching is that I I've tried to be more flexible and open-minded about things than a lot of lawyers are, I think. Just different reasons for that, but also I've seen a lot of cases, and some of them were very, very unconventional. And I've had people who got told that, by lawyers that they could never get it. And then I've had people who, were helped by lawyers and got rejected, and then they got really disheartened and lost hope. So I do want to encourage anybody watching this to be open-minded. And even if you were told by somebody on a forum or somewhere that you are not eligible, especially be very careful about forums or chats where people just give advice without knowing everything about you. So I do want to encourage people to be open-minded and to research, and also just have hope if this is something that you really, really, really want. I think sometimes it's easier to, talk to somebody and then kind of get new ideas about your application. On my YouTube channel, you can find a lot of different stories from people, and every story is different. Some people have very unconventional routes to tax, some people are career changers, and there are various configurations. But in your case particularly, when I just Googled you, I saw all of this stuff immediately. And then as we worked on your documents, I saw even more accomplishments that you've had, so much like community work and all of those things that you have done, like teaching at the university. All of this was definitely very strong signals for criteria number 2. I think people who choose criteria number 2, they have this specific profile and they have this certain thread that's going on through their career, where they do things for free because they're just passionate about it and they want to share knowledge. So, and in your case, very important, you have done a lot of those things kind of for a long time, right? So this wasn't just a recent thing, which definitely was very, very important. Sometimes people, come to me and they ask me like, but I can just do this right now. And I'm saying, I mean, it's great that you want to do it. And if you want to do it, you should, but also be mindful that Tech Nation is very skeptical about recent achievements.
Things. Yeah.
Yeah. So in your case, there was a clear history of you doing those things, and they definitely seemed authentic to your story and your profile, right? And I think a lot of this is about just creating a story about your experience and how you want to present it and what you want to do with it in the UK, right? So yeah, what was, I'm just curious, like what was the hardest thing about this whole process, like the biggest challenge that you faced?
The biggest challenge, I would say, just the first step before I met you. I think that was the biggest challenge for me. I didn't know how to get started. Like I was sitting in front of a blank page. I didn't know how to get started. I was like reading the guide of Tech Nation, I think at the 4th time, something like that. I was like, I will get started with this. I will get started. I think that was the most difficult part to me. After your conversation, everything basically it just went flow. It's like I just flow with everything. So
yeah,
I think that's was the hardest part, because you don't really know. It's like where to start. Do I meet this criteria? Am I confident that I meet this criteria? Should I design my old documents to support this criteria? And then, okay, let's start writing it. And then you got like, oh, what do I do? Like, yeah. I think that's the most hardest thing that I ever had. And, just like after this conversation, it was all clear, really all clear.
Yeah, that's really great. I'm really excited that we're having this conversation right now. I think with your case, I had a very positive feeling. A lot of it comes from the fact that I've helped so many people, and I've seen a lot of cases where, people were kind of disheartened initially, but then once we unpacked it seemed clear that definitely it's a strong candidate. I think what's important to remember is that Tech Nation really appreciates it when people have a public profile. If somebody is easily Googleable, it really helps, because then they have this external validation of you as an expert. Because obviously, if you are somebody who's invited to conferences, if you are speaking at events, if you are invited to be on expert panels, if you have interviews of you, if you have articles or books or presentations or whatever that you do, it's a clear signal to Tech Nation that you are a good candidate for the Global Talent Visa. So if you have those things, I think definitely, and they're related to tech, I think you should definitely consider this visa, even if you don't really see how you fit into the criteria and certain things in the guide, they don't quite make sense to you. I think it's very worth talking to somebody about your particular case, which doesn't mean that if you don't have those things, you can't get the visa. I think you still can. it's becoming harder and harder to get the visa without some public profile of some sort. I think in the past it was easier. Like I've had a client who had like zero public profile and they still got the visa, but it was a while back. And also they had a very specific technical profile where it kind of made sense that a lot of the work was like top secret NDA, and we kind of managed to create a story around it, but it was quite a long time ago. So right now I don't recommend people to apply if they have no external validation of their leadership whatsoever, because then it's very hard to meet the leadership criteria, the mandatory one. And I see a lot of rejections for people who just don't have the public profile. So I think in general, so many people reached out to me who got rejected, and they send me the reasons why they get rejected. And like top reason is saying that we would expect a candidate for this visa to have a public profile, to have awards, to have public talks, to have publications, like all the stuff that you actually had. And this is quite sad, but also I think it's important to be realistic as well. So just something to bear in mind. Maybe it will be enough for you, maybe not, but just be aware of it and be prepared to either work on your profile and kind of postpone the application, or apply and kind of risk it, or choose a different visa route. So there are always options, and this is something that I discuss with clients on the discovery session. So we always go through all the options, and the person can make their own decision, because there are trade-offs everywhere, right? So you can apply and get rejected, and some people are fine with it. They just learn kind of the reasons. But yeah, I think in your case, maybe you could tell us about the timeline. So you said it took 3 weeks to prepare everything to apply. How long did you wait for the decision?
10 days.
Okay, that was quite quick.
Quite quick. I was super, and the funny is, it was I got the decision letter on Friday night, and I remember talking to friends that came over for dinner, and I was like, yeah, I'm waiting. It's gonna take 8 weeks. It's gonna take 10 weeks. We're just gonna wait and everything. And then I literally saw the email just like a day after, like on Saturday morning, and I was like, oh no, I couldn't see it last night. But yeah, it was 10 days. It was really, really exciting. And I think it only makes sense, when you're doing such an application and you're Googling that name, you want to find some information, some entities about this person, right? Like it's only makes sense that you just want to find some information about this person, the companies that he worked for. Maybe he was mentioned inside these companies or written for these companies, on their blog, or as a kind of, anything like that on the news sometimes. So it just makes sense. It's just the truth in the end of the day when you're just Googling this person's name.
Yeah.
So I went, and I think the entire application was like, imagine that, I would say the officer that is like reviewing your case right now doesn't know anything about SEO, doesn't know anything about marketing. Imagine that. And you need to explain everything, to explain the impact. So I would say, yes, I drove a lot of traffic to this website. What does it mean in the bottom line? Does it mean that basically the company was generating some revenue or just traffic? So everything was in a point of view of just explaining everything. I think that was also a good tip that you gave me about, just like not thinking that because it's the Tech Nation reviewing that they know everything about business, they know everything about marketing or SEO. Think that they don't know anything. So basically, this was also something that we need to simplify everything that was done. But waiting for this was just 10 days, the happiest days. 10 days, and I was like, oh my God, yeah. And it's,
it's really. I shared a lot of great tips here. Just to reiterate on this, I think this is a very common thing with reviews that I do for people. There are always a few iterations, right? So when we worked with you, you kind of prepared the document, and I looked at it, I gave you some feedback, and you edited it, and then I looked at it again. So usually there are a couple of iterations that I do. And the most common thing that happens is that when I read it, I always say that, this is not clear, like this should be explained better. Yeah, and it's simplified. As you said, we should assume that the person reading this, they have kind of a basic understanding of tech, but also we should not expect them to really know the specifics of your business, right, and your specialty. And this should be just easily understandable by somebody who, like, basically your document should have all the context. which is actually very hard, I think, because as you are an expert in SEO and you write about it, there is a certain course of knowledge and things are clear to you, but then you always should think about somebody who doesn't know this stuff, and it's very hard to find the balance and to fit everything into the 3 pages that you have. But I think with a couple of iterations, it always works out. Like sometimes, I think your case was a bit more straightforward, because I think talking about SEO is a bit easier than with some clients where they talk about some really like cutting edge invention and or something deeply technical, right? And they have to explain it in a way that's understandable to somebody who's not an expert, for instance, in machine learning or something like this. And this is where like I think it's really challenging. But so far, I think even if the document starts out as very, very hard to read, after a few iterations, it becomes very clear. So it's just a process of editing it out and making sure that somebody who reads it can understand, as you said, like how does it relate to the criteria, right? So like what are we proving here? And every document in your application should answer this question, like why is this in the application? What purpose does it solve? You should not just have stuff there just because you heard that somebody used it somewhere. Exactly. It should be clear, right? Like what does it do?
Yeah, so a lot of information that I got in the beginning, I didn't use it like in the end. When I'm looking at the documents that I've basically applied in the end, I haven't used any ChatGPT. I haven't used any AI tools to write everything. It's like I really generally just done everything by myself.
Yeah.
And I think that's the best way to go, not to try and tweak a sheet and things like that. I think you need to be genuine with your application. And just to trust your I would say your accomplishment, trust your thing that you're a global talent. In the end of the day, what needs to be putting there. So I think that's the main thing that I could possibly share about this, because there's a lot of false information as well. Also on the forums, sometimes people are sharing some things that they have done, or and in the end of the day, I just used your advice. We're just like straightforward, to the point, be genuine. And I like this approach. I like being honest. I like, that I can, if they request something, that I can just prove it afterwards, like easily. And that's something that was just got us to just like, okay, we're going with this process. I mean, me and my husband, because it was a family decision to go with this visa. So yeah, that's something that definitely like a life-changing. Imagine it's like a really life-changing to get this route. Yeah.
And imagine this video will be life-changing for somebody watching this, and somebody will get excited and inspired by this. I fully agree with you with what you described. The approach should be genuine. I do have clients who come to me and they try to use GPT or other tools to write their letters or their documents, and I'm like, everybody can see that. I mean, it's not a secret. It feels very fake, and also you can't really hide, if you don't have the achievement, you can't write about it in a fancy way. As you said, like you have to be genuine, and it has to be just simply explained. If you have to obfuscate things too much, usually there is a problem underneath it, right? So as this kind of editor trick is to show and not tell. So you should just show what you've done, and then the reader will determine for themselves whether it's good enough or not. And if you just use big words to sell something, it almost never works. I think a lot of people hope that it will, but in reality, if you have an achievement that's very weak, you either don't use it in the application, or if you have space, you can just present it. Like you have a small YouTube channel, maybe it's not huge, but you just present it, you show that it's growing, you show screenshots, and maybe it's not that great, but it's better to use it like this than to try to convince them that this like channel with 300 subscribers is like this massive movement. So just be genuine, and in general, a good approach for life and for this visa as well. Obviously, I think storytelling is important, and there should be like a story to your whole application, right? So the end goal, and this is where I think the strategy part comes in. Like what is the kind of the goal of this whole thing? And I think with you also we discussed like what is the application kind of, they start reading the application with a personal statement, but also usually I recommend people to write it kind of towards the end. Like you can draft it in the beginning, but then finish it towards the end. And then it ties everything together, right? So it should be clear like how everything relates to the criteria and to your goals in the UK. And then I think it's quite overwhelming. Even if I work with a client, sometimes it gets overwhelming for me. And then it's like, okay, imagine just doing it on your own. I think it's doable, but quite difficult because there is just so much information.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think if you have an angle, if you have the criteria and you know exactly what you're doing, I think it's really helpful. So yeah, I'm just looking at what did we not talk about. We talk about the challenges and maybe just to if we have a few more minutes, so if anybody has any last minute questions, then please go ahead and ask. Also, you can ask them in the comments later. If somebody who's listening to this, they got inspired by your story and they do want to apply for the visa, maybe they're a business applicant like you. So is there anything that you would like to share with somebody who's thinking of applying? Maybe something that you wish somebody told you beforehand, any kind of parting thought?
Yes, basically, I don't think that reading the Tech Nation Guide alone is enough to decide if you're eligible to the criteria or not. I think that I was told, that I by a lawyer that I'm not eligible at all because I'm in the marketing. This is not considered to be tech or things like that. And I think at the end of the day, it was a waste of time, like time from my end, not to apply to this visa earlier. So I think at least start with a discovery call, at least start with getting as much information as you can, and also understand what type of accomplishment you have. What type of criteria do you think that you will take eventually if you apply? Identify these areas and then start with the discovery call, just to understand where you're at. This will give you the first confidence, I would say, to apply or not, about your chances or not. Sometimes you're not eligible and that's perfectly fine, but you need to hear that, so instead of just applying, do the whole work and then get rejected and, it's a waste of time from your end. So I do feel that start with the discovery call, understand a little bit where you stand, if you're eligible, if you're not, if you're eligible, in what criteria, and then move on from there. I think that will be the best steps. I took the review package. I think that was perfect for me. I think that it was the best thing that I ever done, really, to be honest, because the documents that I presented to the Home Office, to the Tech Nation, I would say, they were great, but they were perfect, after Nadia reviewed it. So I think that the whole process really, really helped me to get it focused, to get the right angle sometimes, to understand that certain things are weaker, sometimes certain things are very much stronger, and all these type of things. So just to get more supported documents as well to get it perfectly fine. So I think that was a really great package to me. Really, really high and recommending it. I think it was the best thing that in the application that I've done. I'm completely honest about it because I really tried to go for it by myself, all over by myself. But, after reviewing the discovery call, I was like, okay, I'm 100% sure that I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, okay, but I need help from someone just to review the document, see that everything's okay, and put me in the right direction. So I think that it was the best thing that I've done with this application with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks so much for this lovely review. Yeah, it's been a pleasure to work on the documents. I actually do quite enjoy doing the review and in general working on the cases. And the documents were indeed perfect towards the end. So we do everything that we can, right? So I give all the information that I have, and we do the best we can with everybody's documents. And then kind of the ultimate decision is within the hands of the person looking at them. But I think there is a very big difference in the result if documents are not presented well and then if they are presented well. So I think I'm really glad that you also got value out of this. And yeah, time I think is really important, like whether you save time or not. I think unfortunately a lot of my discovery calls these days, they end with me saying that I don't really see a clear way to an endorsement right now for somebody, and I'm always very upfront and I'm just saying like it is, and I think it's disappointing for people, but also it saves and also it saves people time, because if they don't have the chances right now. Maybe it's better to wait a little bit and apply later when they have something else to show. Some people still decide to apply, and like it's fine, but it's still really, it's best to be realistic. And if the chances are very high for you to get rejected, you should be prepared for this, right? So yeah, honestly, I think it's the best approach always. So yeah, I think it was a great success story. I think it was the first time I was helping an SEO specialist, and I'm pretty sure it's like the first person of such background online. I don't know if I've seen like your specific specialty, which I think is really important here to note, because if you read the guide, you will see some professions mentioned there, and you will not see SEO there. Which is another sign that this guide and this list is non-exhaustive. It's just some ideas of professions. But generally, if you work in tech and you can show impact and you have achievements, there is a very good chance that you can actually get the visa, even if your specialty is not there, because there are so many jobs in tech and there are like new jobs appearing all the time. So just be mindful of that. And in general, if you are, if you are just interested in the visa, feel free to get in touch with me. There is my email, and my LinkedIn is in the description. So do get in touch, especially if you're a business candidate and you're like, I'm not sure whether my specialty, can get endorsed or not. I think it's a really great chance just to have a chat. And I will have another conversation this Sunday, actually, with an HR specialist, which is I'm pretty sure like the first interview of this kind online. So HR people also, if you're interested, please join. And the recordings will be on my YouTube channel as well, as always. So I'm very excited to work with people from various specialties, unusual, unique paths to tech. So yeah, if you need like some creative help, get in touch. Really happy that this worked out for you, and happy that you got endorsed quite quickly and straight away. Because I think also very important to note that a lot of people do go through rejections on their way to the visa. It's not like everyone just gets endorsed. It's not like that at all. There are a lot of rejections, a lot of appeals that happen. So very happy that you did not have to suffer through the stress of reapplying. So yeah, congrats, and thank you so much for your time today. I hope this was enjoyable for you and useful for other people. And thanks for everybody for watching. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Cheers.